Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. My name is Sandra Bailey, and I'll be your moderator today. I am a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated and a proud graduate of the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. Today's discussion is a conclusion of our chapter's Finer Womanhood Week surrounding the idea of womanhood as a whole. A woman, by definition, is simply an adult female human being, but by complexity, we are so much more. Daughter, sister, aunt, mother, friend are titles most of us have in common. And while all women face challenges from just simply being born with an X chromosome, add in being a Black woman into the mix, and we've entered a new level of extremes. From being praised about the way we walk and talk in the 80s and 90s, to being told that only one of our shades is beautiful in the 2000s, to dealing with a global pandemic, all while being ripped apart on the internet by insecure and narcissistic men for wearing lace fronts, not working out enough, having high standards, and being too successful. We can't seem to catch a break. Or can we? In the last decade and a half, Black women have been able to create this new lane for themselves in society, where they are seen as the most respected and educated group and fastest growing set of entrepreneurs in the country. But how do these things play into our community's views of us? Being a woman and embracing your womanhood is more important now than ever, and that's why we're here today. So we've assembled a group of women from different walks of life to discuss the state of womanhood. Let's start by introducing our panel. Today we have with us Dr. Sharifa Myvet, a proud member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority, licensed marriage and family therapist, and mother to a 13-year-old son. Ataji Austin is a business life coach and ABA therapist, currently attending CSU Long Beach, and she is also a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Misty Powell is a psychologist, holistic Reiki healer, medicine woman, and certified yoga instructor. She is also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. LaShonda Unseld Hopkins is a 13-year Air Force service member, founder of global travel movement Passports Matter LLC, wife, mother, and member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Camille Austin is a LA-based model and actress, also working as an account executive for a marketing research company. She recently went viral on TikTok for her transparency on relationships and dating. Jasmine Lee is a comedian, actress, producer, and co-host of People's Party podcast with Talib Kweli, and she is also a mother to her beautiful baby girl. Ladies, welcome, and thank you so much for being here today. All right, so we're going to get straight into it. Dr. Myvet, let's kick it off with what we're here for. So what is womanhood to you, and were you taught what that means?
All right. Well, thank you for that question, and good afternoon, everyone. It's amazing to be a part of this panel and be amongst such amazing women. But what does womanhood mean to me, or what is womanhood? I think I appreciate that you said to you, because womanhood is, as you mentioned in the intro, so complex, right? We have the scientific idea of what womanhood is, and individually. So it can't be defined by anyone or anything, primarily yourself. So, as my understanding of what it is, I would say it's distinguished characteristics or qualities of grace, understanding your purpose, the way you carry yourself, how you show up in relationships, whether that be employment, with your spouse, your significant other, because I know I'm different, right? When I'm with if I had one, I was about to say when I'm with, if I had one, my significant other, than how I show up in, the office. So definitely it's complex, and it grows, and it's ever forming. Was I taught what a woman is? I would say yes. So I think about, if you guys are familiar, well, A Different World, right? I don't know if you guys remember Jasmine Guy, her mom. You sit up, you cross your legs, you do this. I think as women, if we're fortunate to have older people in our lives, we are definitely taught what a woman should look like or carry herself. But I think as you travel through life, you gain your own definition and understanding. So to answer your question, yes, definitely was taught what a woman should be or how she should carry herself.
Do you think that you've been able to uphold what was taught, or did you kind of remix to what you think you should be doing now?
Oh, I would definitely say I have remixed, because if you speak to my mom, she would say, I don't know who raised you. It just changes. Her definition of what a woman looks like definitely may not be my definition as I've kind of stumbled through life. And also, when she grew up, things were a lot different, right? The way a woman should carry herself, where she should be, and how she should even speak. So definitely, it's changed. Yes.
Okay. I want to give the other ladies an opportunity if anyone wanted to add something in. Not for now. All right, we're going to go to Ataji. So, Madam Ataji, what do you see? And again, this is a question pertaining directly to you. What do you see as the biggest flaw in, the way we're taught about womanhood?
Thank you for that. That's a great question. I think when it comes to being taught about womanhood, a lot of us have been taught differently. There's different things that have been passed on. But I think one of the common things, especially that's just evolving within the generations, would be that we're always supposed to be strong, or we're not supposed to be as expressive or embody our feminine energy in its capacity. And I think this leads to a lot of like emotional irregularity and so much more. But I think that would be the most common one, because we're not supposed to, show too much emotion or cry or this and that. And we're supposed to, carry everybody on our backs. So I think that would be the biggest flaw to me, because it stems from a lot of more problems. So that would be my answer.
Okay. Anybody want to jump in? I feel like she hit a few things for all of us.
I think that the biggest problem is that you're not specifically taught how to be a woman. Like, you kind of have to just watch it. And so you're watching the women around you who also are not taught. So it's like you kind of just have to figure out your own way of things instead of going through a healthy way to maneuver the path of womanhood. So I feel like a lot of women, and especially Black women, they get set back for a number of years because you're kind of having to learn things that you should have learned as a child. And we all know it's a lot harder to retain information when you are an adult.
Yeah, I like that. I'm glad you brought that up, because even as an adult, you have to unlearn certain things that you thought were maybe, oh, this is what womanhood is supposed to be. And you find out later, like, oh, no, it's not. It was just that way in my family or from where I came from. So I think that was a good point.
Yeah.
Oh,
Camille,
she's
did you want to
muted.
add something?
Yeah, but Misty, you're muted. Go ahead.
So in terms systemically, I feel like there is a very heavy patriarchal pressure that's in our system, which does not give women freedom and access to explore the level of their womanhood. Not only that, what we see in entertainment today, we are given an image, and this image is easily transferred to women in our society, especially as Black women, because you don't necessarily see beautiful Black women at the forefront in all of their beauty, in all of their grace, in all of their goddessry, in all of their ritual, or whatever the case may be. You don't see that like amplified in today's entertainment industry or just across the board. And so we're only being taught from what we see. And it creates an imbalance when it comes to divine feminine essence and being able to show up in all of our glory and express all of who we are, because we're so infinite. We have so much, but we don't necessarily get the opportunity to explore that being. And so this system was not necessarily designed for us, even though we created it.
Right.
Period. Yeah, I was actually going to bring up the entertainment bit. Missy definitely beat me to it, but that's kind of how I see it play out on my day to day, given that I'm going to these auditions, and you wouldn't think it's real, but I mean, you see the breakdowns for the castings, and almost always I'm always I find it a little funny that it's usually we think it's made up, but when I see the casting breakdowns and they'll say looking for a male can be black, African, da 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 da, his girlfriend, racially ambiguous, and it's like, oh, so I can't even audition for this. Got it. So I still submit, but it's one of those things where it's not all in our head, and I think there was a huge like a gaslighting moment that happens when, you know, as a whole, we were told like this is what's happening to us, and everybody's kind of invalidating that experience. And I think with womanhood, again, with very little representation to combat what we're not seeing, the full spectrum, it makes so much pressure for us who are in the limelight to do well, because we know that there's not many spots for us. So we've got to make sure like we have the added pressure of putting on for everybody else instead of just being ourselves. Even if I make a mistake, I can't even do that. So
Yes, I'm like all of it, all of it, all of it. You're all are correct, and it's something I don't think we can necessarily be taught. As Dr. Mivette said earlier, it's like you were taught by one generation that this is how it works, and then the game got switched, and it keeps changing and evolving as we all continue to get older and go through our own life experiences. So, what I want to know now from Misty is, when did you know that you actually held power as a woman? Because that's not something that I think that most of us have either ever learned or been told.
The first time I knew that I held power as a woman was when I first started my cycle. And my mom sat me down and she had that conversation. Well, darling, this is what's going to happen every moon cycle. This is the tools that you're needing to cover yourself and protect yourself and make sure that your personal hygiene is taken care of. These are the moon cycles of your day. You need to keep up with this. As you continue to get older, if you're not careful with your partner, then you will be able to reproduce a child. I'm like, okay, I can reproduce children based on this cycle that happens every moon phase. I'm like, okay, so there's power in me, knowing that I create life. And this feminine essence that resides within me is the only type of energy within women that can create life. So I knew right then and there, okay, there's some power here. And growing up, experiencing different relationships, I realized that I gave that power away. And it's not until I started growing, maturing, and becoming a wise woman that I realized, okay, this energy that is within me, this womanhood that is within me, is not just for producing children. This is how I birth my business. This is how I come into alignment with myself. This is how I began to be in tune with the earth, the cycles of the moon, the cycles of the sun. And so, yeah, knowing all of that, I started diving deep into what womanhood is. I started even moving into the study of the cells and the Eve gene, knowing that as a Black woman, Black women are the original woman. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. Black
Come on now.
is the original woman. Everybody on planet Earth has an X and Y chromosome that directly parallels them back to Africa. So essentially, we are all Africans, but Black women carry that Eve gene from the sub-Saharan region. Okay, so we created this nation, and knowing that, that gave me even more power. And I feel like if more Black women understand that they carry the Eve gene that birthed this nation, we will begin to know ourselves from a deeper level. We will carry more pride within our genes, within ourselves, with how we walk, with how we talk, with how we exude our feminine energy and our feminine power.
Misty, I don't know what to say. You got me speechless. And looking at everyone else's faces, you got us all.
Yes, indeed. We're once again, this patriarchal society, as women, you know, we have to be resilient. And I just educated myself on the word resilient. No, as Black women, we're tired of being resilient. We're tired of knowing that, oh, we're strong. We can do this. We can do that. We can take all this pain on. No. We are natural, feminine, original Black woman that should be able to rest
Oof.
comfortably in her divine feminine energy and allow everything to attract to her. We don't always have to keep going out, okay, the bills got to get paid. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this. No. Once we start to really integrate that into ourselves, we start to clear away ancestral trauma, generational trauma, where we've always been that strong hierarch, and that's okay too. But when does it come a time when we get to just simply receive our retributions, our reparations, all of it, and rest comfortably and heal on a cellular level?
Wow.
Listen.
I'm like, listen, that's beautiful. And I come from a Caribbean background. So our understanding of womanhood and even, once your cycle does begin is very different for us. Camille herself understands this as well. So does Dr. Mavet. It's very different for us the way we grew up. I wish I was taught in the way that you were taught because I think it's beautiful. I'm actually in awe of the way your mother went about it, and I commend her for it. With that, kind of understanding, Camille, my fellow Jamaican, what is femininity to you, right? And how do you actually understand that, and how do you use that in your way of showing up in the world? Because like Misty said, there really isn't a place for us to know how to show up in the world. So how have you figured that out for yourself, or have you figured it out?
And I think for me, how I see femininity is multifaceted and ever growing. And in sense that I have my definition of how I show up. And to me, it's soft and being strong when I have to be, because mama didn't raise no fool. So if I gotta do it, I'm gonna do it. But I would prefer to relax and rest, like much to Missy's point. So for me, femininity is just kind of knowing that balance of when to give and take and push and pull. And how I show up in every day. I mean, I'm not even entirely sure. I just go out into the world and I manage it the best way I can. I don't necessarily, and I want to stray away from, in a corporate world, that can be just me making sure that I do my hair and makeup because I'm in tech and I'm a Black woman, and I'm going to show up to this Zoom call still showing up and looking cute. And because I'm not going to let this job rob me of my femininity, because that's going to make me look like I shouldn't be taken as seriously. Because some women are afraid to show up that way. They're afraid to show up feminine in these corporate environments because they're afraid that their male counterparts aren't going to take them seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And I rebel against that. I'm still going to show up looking like the way I want to look, and you're still going to have to take me seriously. Mm-hmm. So it's very different versus when I show up for like a modeling job and I'm already seen as less feminine because I am Black. I feel like sometimes I have to lean in further on what they view it. And that's where I'm still unlearning that. So it's a push and pull and everyday thing. I just show up and do the best I can every day. And that's my honest truth.
Mm-hmm. I also feel like too, we as Black women, when it comes to femininity, we have to fully integrate that our bodies belong to us. Mm-hmm. They've been taken away from us from so many different generations. The femininity, all of it, womanhood has been stripped away from us. It has been raped out of us. It has been hung out of us. It has been beaten out of us. But to know that, okay, we are in year 2022, our bodies belong to us. And Resma says this, and he speaks a lot about this. He's the author of My Grandmother's Hands. And I loved when he said it because it resonated with my soul. My body belongs to me. My body does not belong to this system. My body does not belong to my significant other. My body does not belong to my husband. My body belongs to me. And I get to choose at any given time when I want to tap into my joy or when I want to share a piece of my soul with someone special that I deem special. And to add to that, we control our narrative. Nobody controls our narrative. No amount of money, no amount of cameras controls our narrative. We control the narrative. And I feel like in controlling that narrative, I am thankful for spaces like this, where we get to open the dialogue and have a collective meeting of minds, so that, okay, once our minds come together, we are learning from each other. There's a beautiful energy exchange happening here. We are unlocking each other's selves, sharing in all of this information. And I just think it's so beautiful.
Ataji, I believe you wanted to add something.
Yes, I do. For starters, just being that I'm young and probably the youngest one here,
Yeah.
I feel like growing up personally, I didn't even know that I'm not gonna say I didn't know that I had power as a woman, but I didn't really tap into it until I gave it away. And I feel like you learn it, but it's kind of like you don't miss something until it's gone. And then when you have to go through that process of really taking back your power, your personal feminine energy, it's like, oh, okay, now I know who I am. Like, I know who I am, and can't nobody ever take it away from me again. And so I think that also goes into just understanding how you show up in the world and use that feminine energy, because it doesn't look the same for everyone. Even when it comes to healing on a cellular level, what may work for you may not work for somebody else. How you embody your feminine energy may not be the same way somebody else embodies theirs. So I think being mindful of that and just kind of having that cognitive reframing of, okay, this is what my feminine energy is. This is how I show up. And this is how I choose to display it to the world, or this is how I choose to share it to others. So I think that like comes as you grow. Because for me, it just didn't come right then and there, especially because my mother, she worked a lot. So it was a lot of masculine energy and just strong Black woman energy. So I had to really kind of, I wouldn't say outsource it, but in a way learn from other people and other families, or my dad's side of the family, of what that looks like and how I can embody it myself.
I think
Listen.
for me,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead, Camille.
I think also what we were talking about being Jamaican and how generational trauma tends to play into that a lot, because much to like Missy and I have more in common with how my mom actually explained my period, also because she was a nurse. So she was very educational with it, and just kind of, she gave me the God to honest truth, bits by bits, of what was going to happen until I was ready for the full blown story of how things were going to go down. Like, because I saw my sister get it and I was like, what's wrong with her? And my mom was like, I'll explain to you later. Like, but then when I was like, bit by bit, I started getting that conversation. But I can tell you that my grandmother and I, as far as me even being the youngest of my mom's daughters, are worlds apart on how we view things. And even at one point I had to live with her without my mom present. And there was so much friction, just because I remember one time I wore skinny jeans, heaven forbid. And the gene was, I had just gotten a little too much junk in the trunk for him, because I was 13 and I'm not in charge of buying my clothes. So she, my butt was showing, so she was like, you look like a SLUT, change your clothes. And that was such strong language coming from someone that was supposed to like love me and protect me, and my mom doesn't talk to me that way. So I didn't even know what to do. I went to school, I changed my clothes, and I went to school crying, felt like basura about myself. So my mom had to come in, got on the phone with her, and completely was like, don't talk to her like that again. And that was a done deal after that. But it just, this generational thing where my mom was the mid ground between what was going on now and what she grew up with. And it's just like, it's a very crazy time. But yeah, she definitely did her best.
See, and I have the complete opposite. Child, I got that traditional Jamaican. You go out in these streets, these men gonna look at you, they're gonna look you up and down, and that's on you, what you decide to do from there. I didn't get when my cycle started, I was in shock, because I was like, what's happening? Anybody tell me? I did not find out that my mother's in healthcare too, but it's that old school Jamaican way where I didn't get it. And I had to learn everything the hard way, simply like Ataji said. Once you give it away, you can't get it back. And you learn as you learn, and you continue to try to push forward from there. So the different perspectives of everybody and what I will say that added, touch of being Caribbean, being first generation in this country. I got a very interesting introduction to womanhood. Dr. Rivette, were you going to add something?
Yeah, I know we probably have to move on, but I think to understanding that most of our parents parent the way that they were parent, and sometimes we only have the tools that we were given.
Yeah.
So I think once we are aware of that and realize that, that's what helps us kind of propel and move forward and learn to. That's probably, Camille, why your mom was like, no, this is not how I talk to my daughter. I don't know their relationship, but oftentimes when you look at it, you learn like, okay, my mom didn't teach me about my menstrual because her mom was probably very secretive about it. And I gained that knowledge growing up and getting older, and then having those conversations with my mom. Like, we didn't talk about sex. We didn't talk about periods. That was something that was shameful in those times. So, and then again, I think, as we move through life, we realize like this is how we step into our womanhood, and this is how we move forward and teach people after us. To kind of go back to what Misty was talking about, I learned that I gained power in being a woman when I had my child. And again, that's not to take away from anyone who hasn't had children yet. But that's when I realized that I could conquer the world. After that, I took on anything, tattoos, business meetings. No, I'm serious. I was fearful of a lot of things, but once I went through that process, I was like, oh, I could do anything, baby. Bring it on. So
That's beautiful.
yeah.
Oh, that is beautiful. Well, since we're on you, Dr. Mavet, we're going to go to our next question. So now we're going to throw the men in here. So how do you think experiencing traditional gender roles as you see them as a Black woman, how do you think that like shaped the way you think and what's, as far as surrounding relationships?
Oh, I think that is such a deep question, right? Because oftentimes I think of myself as Sharifa the woman and then Sharifa the therapist. And they are often different because I am a human, right? So things that I may tell my clients when I'm talking to them, I'm like, girl, you need to listen to what you're saying. But it's so deep. It's because traditionally, they would say women are supposed to be in the kitchen. Once you have children, that's your job, and that's how you show up in relationships. And today, that's almost rare. Not to say that it's not around anymore, because people do traditionally believe in those things, and that may be right for that person. So I just really think I try to think of how I show up in the world and then relate that to any relationship that I want to be in. So for me is I want to be free, independent, but also be a part of a team. So we're going to move as a unit. I oftentimes tell my friends, I want a person that I could go into a room together. You go left, I go right. And at the end of the night, we come back together. That's how my gender role is, right? But that may not work for the next person. So again, I think it's all your definition and how you want to move through in life.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that seeing, in my case, my mother was the breadwinner and my mother handled everything, and I continue to handle everything. And most of my adult life, I've had relationships with women. When I had my child, I had a relationship with a man. And in that situation, I was still handling everything. And I was told I wasn't giving him the opportunity to be a man. And that was because I did not see how a man was supposed to act, because all I saw is my mom handling everything. And I remember my mom had got on the phone with me and she was just like, don't do what I did, try and go a different route. But I think that in 2022, things are so different because women are working now. No one wants to be, people do want to be barefoot and pregnant, but most women don't. Most women do want to go out and enjoy their own type of lifestyle. So as the times are changing, we kind of have to change along with them and change the definitions of gender roles.
I'd also like to add on to that two things. So for one, I feel like as a therapist as well, I also compartmentalize both sides of myself when it comes to just really embracing my feminine energy and not being so masculine and all of that. Because I've also, like Jasmine said, experienced where it's like, oh, I have to let the man basically play his role. Like I can't do everything. Like that's not what he's here for, but essentially he's here to help you, so let him. But I also witnessed my mom be a single mother. So it's like that unlearning of like what we're used to seeing, and how it kind of plays into everything as an adult. But I feel like even in today's society, it's like a big shift, because like recently I saw on Twitter that a girl was like, "Oh, I don't want my man eating dessert while we're out," and I'm like, you're not like, that's a simple act of a human being, but you're turning it into something that's so feminine that now I'm like, okay, your man can't eat dessert. Like, what if he wanted a cheesecake today? He feel like if he eat this, his feminine energy is showing, and people gonna talk about him. And it's like people don't realize that they're essentially programming and their thoughts and their beliefs onto other people. And I don't think they're doing it like intentionally, but I also don't think people are conscious of the effects it has when you're, saying things on different platforms, or when you establish a brand and you speak different things. Kind of like when Kim Kardashian said, "Oh, you should get up and work," not knowing like she's very privileged more than other people. So I think people just have to be mindful of the things they say and how that plays into gender roles and creates a shift, especially as the generations go on and on.
Absolutely. LaShonda, I think you wanted to add something.
Yeah, so just to touch on a few things. So gender roles, right? Like I would like to say I'm so far from traditional as traditional can be. Even though my parents married 44 years before my dad passed away, both my siblings married, like traditional gender roles and just traditional family is very big to my family. When it comes to gender roles in a relationship, I did not get married to take out the trash. I did not get married to pay the rent. I did not get married to
cut the lawn, cut the grass, any of that.
I didn't get married to do that, because even though I can, and I can pay somebody to do it, those are things that I think that my husband should do. My husband opens the door for me every time that we go to a car. Every time I go to the car, I go through a door, he opens the doors. Those are things that I think that he should do. Now, when it comes to gender roles, as far as when he comes home, like for just from work, and he's been at work all day, he's been standing on his feet. My husband's a barber, by the way. So yes, I'm trying to make his day as easy as it can be. I feel like that's kind of a responsibility of mine. So as I say this though, like I'm trying to word it not so
just do it. Just do it. We're all here for a reason. We're all a little different in the way we see things. No one is here to judge you. We want you to speak from your heart.
So people don't get it.
I'm gonna just say this. But when it comes to like being at work, now I'm in the military. My profession is predominantly men. I'm around men all day long. So I can't, if I want them to treat me equal, I can't go into the room and expect them to take out the trash because I'm the only female in there. So I got to turn it on and off. But when it comes to my work relationship and my marriage, it's completely different. There's just certain expectations that I hold depending on which role I'm in.
Okay.
No, I just get what you're saying. I'm sorry. Just to add on to that, I think what I feel the same way. If I have to show up and be in my masculine energy all day, I don't want to do it when I come home. Mm-hmm. Like I want to be soft, I want to be dainty miss, and I want to I don't mind taking care of you. I don't it's a mutual partnership at that point, and and so I can. You're not lost. Your words are not lost on me. I totally get where you're coming from. I don't mind it either. I don't want to have to do it all day.
Yeah, it first of all, it's exhausting, and I think as Black women, most of the time we feel like we have to. Mm-hmm. But if we're gonna do it all by ourselves, why we need to be in a relationship with somebody?
And I, not for nothing, but that's where men miss the mark, where they're like, "Oh, you guys want to be equal in the workplace?" It's like, yeah, at work, but at home, it's a totally different thing. And why can't you separate your ego from at work and at home?
Mm-hmm. Oh, Jasmine, you said something. LaShonda said something. Camille said something. Y'all said something. I just a brief was kind of taught a little differently. My dad taught me how to change oil, tires, windshield wipers. He said, you're gonna learn how to do all this because if whoever you end up with, or if you end up by yourself in that situation, he wanted me to be able to do it. He said, but don't get me wrong. you shouldn't be doing it. So I have some friends who used to look at me crazy because I said, if he don't know how to change a tire, I don't want him. And my friends really thought I was crazy in college for that. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, that is a basic thing. If we break down on the side of the road and I'm in a dress and heels, so I have to dirty up my clothes because you can't do it and you're the man in this relationship. So I think it starts with even those small things and the ways that we learn, like, okay, well, yes, I can go buy this, or I can send him to do it. And even if he has to pay somebody to do it, send him to do it, because that still is allowing us and giving us the space to remain within our own feminine energy and passing the buck a little bit. Jasmine, were you going to say something? Did you unmute?
No, I was actually just fixing myself in the chair. So.
Okay, sorry. Okay, no worries. But yes, so with that being said, Miss LaShonda, the married one, do you believe that submission in a relationship is essential for Black women, and why or why not?
It is so funny that you keep saying like I'm the married one, because you knew me in college. Like what? Like
I know, but you newly married and you know, I know your whole background story. So for me, it's like you're married and I know how you are. And like you said, I know there's the military side, there's a friend side, there's the wife and the mother. So how do you work all that in? And then, like you said, with backing off a little bit when you get home, does that mean like submission is something that you think is it a real thing?
absolutely. So I want to say this. I dabble in a lot of friend groups. I have white friends, Asian friends, all kind of different homegirls, different backgrounds. And when I talk to a lot of my Black homegirls, our mothers did not teach us to be submissive. Our mothers taught us to get out here and do it all and do it well. Our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunts, whatever woman we had in our life. Most of I have a white girlfriend right now whose mother literally is from since she was born taught her to, this is what you do for a man, this is what you should do for a wife, groomed her to be, the perfect lady, what society says that she should be, the perfect wife of what a man should want. Our mothers wasn't doing that. So I do believe that it's definitely it's a thing. You should be submissive, but you should have your voice as well in any relationship that you're in. I'm being submissive just because I decide to pick my battles with my husband. Hell, I'm choosing peace. That doesn't mean that I'm letting him run over me. And vice versa, because he does the same thing. And my husband is extremely, extremely laid back. I think that a lot of Black women struggle with being submissive because of what we feel like submissiveness comes with. Like, because we don't want to get ran over. We don't want to feel like we are a doormat, because I think that's kind of what it's played up to be. And it's not really that, especially when you are in a marriage or in a long relationship or whatever. It's not that at all. I think that it's how you play it. It's how it is important. I do think Black women struggle with it, and I do believe that it's good advice that I had is just listen to other women and other from other races, because you never know what you might pick up.
I think there's certain people that you are going to submit to, and that's because they show you that you can be that you're safe there, that you can trust them. You're not going to submit to somebody that can't lead. They have to, if that's your person, then I feel like they have to show you that they're going to lead you and that it's going to be okay. And then you can get to that vulnerable state, along with all of the generational things where you were not like raised in order to, because for me, I'm definitely combative. It's very hard for me to just say, oh, okay, you got it. And that's because growing up, it's like a bad thing if you're wrong or you don't get to speak up. It's looked at as a negative thing in your life.
Can I add to that? I think generationally we're taught that submission has a negative connotation because, like you said, you're seen as weak or it's taken away your power. And we can go as far back back in regards to where this thought process came from. But submission just really means trusting that person. It doesn't mean that your power is being taken away. I'm not married, but that's my mindset in regards to, eventually one day becoming a union. Is it's all about trust. Do you trust this person to make good decisions for each other?
I think the biggest issue with submission is that we as women kind of understand it's more about like partnership and am I down with the plan that you're trying to lead us on? If I like the plan, because when's the last time you submitted an application for a job you didn't read what the description was? Like, I'm sorry, friend, what am I submitting to? What am I applying for? Because if I don't like the job, then I'm just going to say no thank you and leave. But if it's a job I want, then I'm going to submit an application and go forward. But a lot of the time, for me in my current dating atmosphere, and what I'm seeing a lot, especially on the internet, which I try to stay away from, is that this very distorted definition of the word submission. So now you've got men really thinking that it's ownership, and women want partnership. So now it's like we don't even have the same meaning of the same word. And so when we're dating, it creates this like conflict and friction, because it's like I would like to be a part of the things, but you're not going to own me. I'm going to still have a say, but I'm going to support you. So it's a very, I don't know. I think that's where I see a lot of the crux of the issue for right now.
Right. I'd also like to add on to that. Even with submission having a negative connotation at times, some people may even feel bad for being submissive, not necessarily combative or like, oh, if ain't nobody gonna do it, I'm gonna do it myself. It's like, I feel bad for letting somebody help me, or I feel bad for you offering me something that I probably deserve. But right now, since I haven't been in the act of practicing being submissive, or I haven't had to in a long time, it's like, oh, well, this doesn't feel right. So I think it's also having to unlearn those feelings and those negative connotations that come with being submissive. And even when it comes to like your peers, because not many people may understand, especially because we're all at different stages of life, it's like, okay, well, you may understand that, okay, you need to be submissive right now to your man and let him lead, but somebody else may not, because they may still be in their strong woman stage. So it's like, it creates an imbalance with not only you and yourself, but just within your surroundings, because we're all having to like collectively unlearn this and practice being submissive and practice having somebody help us. Because I think we all want a team and to be a partner, but it's like sometimes we're not ready for what we want. And it takes us a little bit of recognizing that before we can fully step into that submissive mode.
And I think we have to stop feeling like we have to choose. Why can't we be strong and be submissive?
That too, because I don't think people give you this or that, when it's like, no, you can collectively have a balance of masculine and feminine energy and be okay. It ain't end all be all.
That part. And I think it's important when dating to date with intention and purpose. So having those conversations, oftentimes people stray away from that because it's a red flag. It's like, oh, I found this man, I like him, or I found this woman. And you don't want to ask those questions because it may make you not submit that application. So definitely asking those questions and even identifying what is your definition of submission. Because what I think it is, and we may be in this partnership and I think I'm being submissive, and he's like, no, sis. Like, so I think it's important to really just have those conversations before. And you would think that's like common sense, but I've seen so many people get married and just don't have those conversations of important topics like this.
Right. And I think that's important. I feel like that also comes with, you showing up authentically and you kind of embracing your feminine energy, because you're going to have those hard conversations. I feel like everybody should have all the hard conversations before y'all get married, because you got to know your person through and through. But that's my perspective. But I feel like when it comes to that, it's like you have to really know or be compatible with that person, because you guys might have varying definitions of what submissive is and what submissive is being. So I think that also comes into like the communication aspect and just how you guys are functioning as a whole or as a unit.
Now, Taji, you mentioned showing up as your authentic self. Yes. And as a businesswoman who utilizes social media, I want to know, we want to know, how do you actually find a way to show up as your authentic self in the world of social media, knowing like it's already hard on Black women? Like, do you find it hard? What are the tools that you use? What has been your experience in trying to, be completely true and transparent to who you actually are?
As far as being completely authentic and showing up that way on social media, for me in my journey, it wasn't always that at first, especially because when you have a business, you're split between yourself and your business brand. Currently, I am my brand, so it's a little bit easier in a way. But it's also like you have to be mindful of what you want to communicate to your target audience, but also what you want to communicate to yourself, to your peers, to your friends, and so on. And so for me, in regards to showing up authentically as myself, I had to really practice embracing myself and establishing personal mastery. And it's something that I'm continuously working on. Like I even closed my business for a bit just so I can realign and hone into myself and kind of what it is I want, especially when things are evolving within different industries. You kind of don't want to be off trend when you're in a business, but you also still want to show up authentically. So for me, it's having that balance and just knowing like who I am and then proceeding with, okay, once I know who I am, I know what to do and how to do it. In regards to the second part of the question, I feel like at times it is hard owning all of who you are, especially as a Black woman, because you have to constantly uphold a certain image. And even when it comes to like the language, some people may not get our culture. And not that it's necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like some people may not understand certain, I guess, I would say, I guess, slang. Yeah, certain slang and certain things that we do that we may all collectively understand, but somebody else may not. So even balancing that aspect of, okay, how do I want my image to look to my coworkers versus my family versus my business audience or the people I'm being a therapist to. And so it's kind of like having to, in a way, wear all the hats, but make sure that they are cohesive and that you can not, I guess, strip so much away from yourself, but that you can also grab their attention and, kind of have a baseline for everything. Let me know if that makes sense. But
I know it absolutely.
okay, so
Absolutely.
yeah, for me, I would say it is a little hard, but I feel like once you know yourself and you kind of know how you want to show up, it becomes easier.
Jasmine, I see you're unmuted.
Okay, so social media obviously is a huge for me, so social media pretty much is my life. Because I'm in entertainment and I not only am my own brand in Jasmine Lee, but I'm also a part of a podcast. So in my contract, I literally have to post every week. So even if I'm having a bad day or I'm trying to take a break, oh, my laptop's gonna die.
No problem. But okay,
even if even if I am having a bad day or if I'm taking a break off of social media because it becomes consuming, I still have to get on there anyway. And for me is I literally have to make an active choice every day to show up for me and not to care about the likes. And this is very difficult, especially because, once you hit that mark of you're getting over 100 likes, then you're like expecting more. Once you hit that mark of getting over 500 likes, then you're expecting more. Once you hit 1,000, it's like, oh my God, if I didn't get 1,000, then like the world hates me. Like, what am I doing? So you really just have to have that conversation with yourself. And I post stuff that's genuine to me. I post stuff whether I'm trying to help out another mom or I'm trying to just be in my truth, and I really focus on not focusing on other people, and I try to just post something and then go on about my business without like obsessing over the likes and the comments for the rest of the days. And but when you're not in the business of social media, I think you should just kind of turn off your computer and take a break. And then as a Black woman, it's very hard. I went through a situation where my co-host had gotten into some, drama with some people, and they kind of took all of that and brought it to me and said, as a Black woman, you're supposed to stand and you're supposed to say this, this, and that, as if I am like the speaker of all Black women. And that's not what I am. I'm just Jasmine Lee. So I just kind of had to remove myself from the situation because I only have to show up for myself. It is not my job to show up for anybody else. As long as I'm being true to myself, if you decide that I'm a role model and you like what I have going on, then that is amazing. And if not, then I'm still going to be living and breathing.
Absolutely. I know that has to be hard too, because I was aware of that situation. I was like, I commended you for staying out of it, to be honest. I think oftentimes, we feel the need because we are Black that we have to, okay, let me say something. Like, I know Gabrielle Union got pissed off at Terry Crews because he didn't back her up about her thing. And it's like, I get it, but you might want to fight this one on your own first and not mess up somebody else's bag either. So I think as we continue to make advancements as Black people, as Black women, we also have to give space and grace to one another. That I don't need her to come to my defense right now, because that sister's trying to get her stuff together and she's trying to stay on too. And while she may agree wholeheartedly or, feel for me in this, I need to worry about myself, figure out that this is true for me, and I need to defend myself on this and let her be. So I actually did know about that and appreciate the fact that you were able to find a balance in it.
And honestly, I'm truly blessed to have the co-host I have and have the team that I have, because that was never expected of me. It was never like, why didn't you say this or whatever? It was just go your lane and I'm going to go my lane.
That's awesome. That's good to hear too. Okay. So Camille. Oh, Camille, you know where we're going. Social media is unkind.
Yeah.
At least it can be. And you've experienced a very unique challenge with social media as of recent. And I wanted to get your feel on, Camille basically went viral on TikTok for just being very honest about her feelings on relationships. And she cried, which I thought was beautiful. And I DM'd her because I was like, I connected to you. I feel you. I'm happy you said it. I feel the same way. It was beautiful to me. And then when we spoke, she's like, girl, I got ripped apart. So, and most of the ripping apart was from Black men.
And women.
But
Black men are trash on social media.
Yeah, she's like, when I read the question, I was like, the only word that came to my mind was disgusting. And like, full stop. Like, and I would say that, we don't want to say all men and make a full generalization. I would say that the reframe or the rewording I'm saying is, I've never seen a man hold another man accountable and step in when they're saying something offensive to another Black woman. At least not in my face, not in the day-to-day. So is while they may not all be the one antagonizing and doing and saying the nasty things, they may be playing witness and less likely to correct each other. That's what I've witnessed.
I actually have an opinion on that, or like a statement when it comes to other people trying to protect another or take a stance against something. I feel like at times it contradicts itself, but sometimes you can want to take a stand, but because you have a brand or something, or let's take Jasmine's situation, for example. She did not feel comfortable, or really it wasn't in her best interest to say something, yet she was still getting attacked for not speaking up about that situation. So I think it's like a double-edged sword in a way, because it's like, okay, I want to, jump on and protect so-and-so, but also like other people have different opinions. And I think a problem with society is that people don't let each other have free opinions and know that, okay, that's how you feel, but that has nothing to do with me. That's not my feelings. We can still be cool. We're good. You just feel that way and I do. And that's perfectly okay. But I think oftentimes people will pick and choose sides, so that it gets tricky when it comes to like, okay, defending who or speaking.
It's not even so much about picking sides of whether or not they agree with me or not, but like, it's, to me, just to give you guys the full layout of some of the things that were said. Some of which were, I deserve to die alone. Some of which were, I should unalive myself. Some of which were, you should get sexually assaulted by a white man. Like, some of which, like, I'm talking about things that were truly disgusting. Not even about what you agree. These are just, to me, very black and white things that nobody should be saying to anybody under any circumstance. So it's like, you can have, like, how we argue about, it doesn't matter what politician you agree with, we all have a right. It's like, okay, but when that person violates a very human right, there is no right or wrong at that point. So that's where I felt like the line got crossed. People had opinions, and that's what comes with the internet. And that, I could cry about that and complain about that, but at the end of the day, I did post it, and so that's just like a part of my growth. It's like, okay, that happened, and that's what's gonna happen when you do something like that. And I tell you, that was also kind of, looking back at it now, it happened over a month and a half ago, and it's almost in a way very freeing, because as a Black woman, you're taught to be strong this entire time. And like, what just happened to me? The most vulnerable thing I could possibly do, I went and aired it. And as a Black woman, you got attacked for it. And so now I'm like, well, I've already done the most embarrassing thing there is to do on the internet. I guess I'm free now. and then I just moved on about my life. But as far as how men, talk to about Black women on social media, I would say not until very recently on TikTok specifically, I've seen a counterbalance to that. Like, there are enough men speaking up and saying, hey, this is not okay. Black women, like, there's one video that went viral the same week mine did, of a man saying Black women were nothing good but breeders. I don't know if anybody saw that.
Yeah, I did.
But yeah, but within that, there were at least, I would say, more Black men saying, he's trash, please don't listen to him. Yeah. You're ruining it for us. Like, shut up. And so I was like, oh, because a couple of years ago, that would have just been what it was, and nobody would have said anything. So to me, it was kind of nice to see that pushback from their, them holding themselves accountable, basically.
I think there's a lot of men that hold themselves accountable. And what people don't know is, when these people that go and they say evil things, like someone said that my daughter was going to get raped on the internet when I first gave birth. While I was pregnant, they literally, like, I had to get off of Twitter. And this is nothing that I said, nothing dealing with me. And I didn't not speak up because I didn't feel uncomfortable. I didn't not speak up because I didn't agree with what the woman was saying. And I don't need to fight my co-host's battles. He's a grown adult. He can do it on his own. I actually didn't believe where their stance was coming from. And it definitely got blown out of proportion, and still is. And people now think it's a whole different narrative to what it is. And honestly, me being a person that went from, I'll say, a regular person to now I'm on the road to being, getting to celebrity status. Oh my gosh, my thing from last night on. I'm on the road to getting to celebrity status. And I realized how the internet can just decide this is what it is. And now that's what it is, even though that's not what it is at all. And then there's so many people that hide behind the fake pages. So it might be one evil person that's just making a bunch of pages and saying all of these things to you. Is not all of men. So when they try to say, oh, all Black women are this, or all Black men are that, it's really not. And a lot of the times it's white people blackfishing under different icons so they can try and troll and make Black people look bad.
Yep.
Yeah. I would say that, I stayed away from the internet when all of that went down, because the video went viral on TikTok, and then somebody screen recorded it and put it on Twitter, and then it got 1.6 million views on Twitter, and then it moved over to Instagram, and then it moved over to YouTube. And so then at that point, I was like, this video is no longer mine. And they're going to take this video and create a whole narrative about my life, like, crying over a man. I was like, not quite. It's like, oh, you're, I got a lot of, I would say the new term I'm learning is like toxic positivity, which is what comes onto the internet a lot. It's like, just freeze your eggs. I'm like, y'all know how much that costs? Like, can you tell me exactly what that you shoot it at that recommendation now? Like, you knew a lot about it. Could you tell me more? And it was, it's not that hard to find a man. I'm like, okay, that's not what I'm saying.
Or the look at you, you're gorgeous.
Yeah, like that, and then discrediting me because, like, to some people I would be considered conventionally attractive. So then it became a problem of, she's probably got so many men that she turned down. And I'm like, or, she's got, like, what was she doing in her 20s? I was like, in school studying like everybody else. Like, I just don't understand. Like, they made a lot of jump conclusions and assumptions about someone off of like a very small snippet and a very vulnerable moment. very small, very few and far in between moment for me. But yeah, I think with social media, I saw one video of a guy that I did not watch, but he literally, like, the caption on the YouTube uh thumbnail was like, uh gets pumped and dumped, and I was like, don't say anything, just report the video.
Wow.
just just report the video, say nothing, because it didn't get a lot of views anyway, so on him. But it was one of those things where I literally just said, don't even, just report it. Because again, everybody just assumed that I got dumped, when my therapist was actually quite proud of me, because the only reason why I ended was because I stood 10 toes down on my boundary and ended it for myself. So it's kind of like, there's a lot that people just don't know. A lot of assumptions were made.
Exactly. And I feel like also what Jasmine said is not believing their stance. Like once you choose not to believe it, because you get to, in a way, choose. I mean, certain stuff is still going to affect you because people do say harsh things, and God bless them. But I feel like once you choose to protect your energy from social media and like not choosing to kind of feed into that negativity, it kind of like dies down eventually. Because sometimes people just want to be a part of something, or just to say something because they want to say something, or they want to, let me put my little video up so people can give me views and try to piggyback off of your success. Because I commend you. That was very brave to have that vulnerable moment. But also, I'm pretty sure you built a lot more connections, even this connection. Like you're speaking on a panel because of that moment, not just because, but that contributed to a lot of opportunities that you do have. And so I think a lot of people can recognize that and try to, whether it's intentionally or not, try to hop on it or hop on the hop on the bandwagon, and kind of use it as leverage, without realizing like this is another human being. Although we were all miles away, people have become kind of dehumanized to like know that this is somebody's sister, somebody's mom, this is somebody's everything, whole world over here, and you're sitting here tearing another human being down without recognizing that this could be your child, this could be your mother that's going through this. But you're so focused on trying to be the next big thing or be the mix, that you're like kind of not even being yourself or spreading love and light and all of that.
And I know that we're pressed for time. I just want to just touch on that real quick. But what we have to stop doing, and I know it's so hard, we got to quit arguing with these people on the free app. Okay,
kill them with kindness.
Quit arguing with these people on this free internet. Like, and if I'm gonna argue with you, what am I getting out of this? So, I am starting to learn that. My husband and I, we have a joint TikTok that's kind of getting big, and Camille, like, it's so funny that the things that you said, because people want you to be so authentic and so real, but when you do it, they come for your neck, so it's like, what the hell? So it's like,
and it's hard to put it off because it's something so personal to you, so you're already like,
so it's like, people press my husband and I, y'all should do a Black Love TikTok, y'all should do a YouTube. I was like, we'll try TikTok, we just do little funny videos. But literally, it's clowns under the comments all the time saying just all kind of dumb, ignorant shit. Excuse my language, just for no reason. Like, yeah, but what happened to just, if you don't like it, just keep swiping? Like, what happened to that? Why? Right. So, yeah, quit arguing with these people on these free apps, y'all.
With that being said, the internet it's a nice place, it's a bad place, it's all these different things. And LaShonda, I know you currently utilize it not only for your new TikTok with your husband, but you also do for your global travel movement, Passports Matter. Mm-hmm. So knowing that you have a very successful military career, what was it that sparked you to even want to pursue entrepreneurship, and how has that been playing out for you?
The military is very structured, right? It is, it's probably one of the oldest careers of all time, where it's actually still the same. A lot of things are still the same from when it was first started. I wanted to step outside of that. As I mentioned earlier, I come from kind of a very traditional background, but I'm kind of a rebel toward that. But I also wanted to show that just because I was in the military, that wasn't all that I can do. I could do so much more. I could be so much more. Like, being an entrepreneur is the hardest job I've ever had besides being a mom. So, I've taken a lot of gut punches this last couple years, but it makes me stronger. It makes me feel like I'm invincible and I you know, and I can dab and have my hands in different pots, and you know, we see what works, we see what is successful, and if it's not, you know, you keep rolling with it. So I think that just outside of my career, it gives me something different. And entrepreneurs at the end of the day are the richest people in the world. It's not the people who are you know, in their careers forever, because we all these jobs will love you and leave you and fire you tomorrow. So just to have something in my back pocket also. Something that I love, which is travel.
Okay. Jasmine, do you have anything you want to add into the entrepreneur bucket?
Well, I mean, I guess technically I'm an entrepreneur in my own, but no, I don't have anything else to add. I just everything she said. Sorry.
Okay. No, you good. Okay. Well, to the mamas on the panel, because let's be honest, a big part of womanhood is, and that's nothing against anyone here. I got my own hormone issues myself, and I'm transparent about it to those who want to listen. We know that everyone is not blessed with the opportunity, or some just simply don't want to, and that is everyone's choice as a woman. For the mothers on the panel, what I wanted to ask you is, do you find any guilt in now, you know, there's this big self-care push, right? Specifically for Black women. I need to take care of myself. I need to put myself first. I need to make sure I'm not running myself ragged, as we've discussed today, as far as, you know, finding any kind of feminine balance with ourselves. Do you ladies find yourselves feeling guilty at all for having to work the balance? Is the balance hard?
Ooh, I'll take that first. My balance is extremely hard, and mainly because my job is also fun. I feel like everyone's job should be fun. Oh, number one, you shouldn't be working somewhere you don't love to work. But my job is really fun. Like, I was just in Austin, you know, doing interviews at South by Southwest, and along with the work is a lot of play as well, intertwined. So I do have a lot of guilt because I am the only parent. I do everything solely. Her father is not in the picture. So I have to give her all of me. And I remember when I started sending her to daycare during the day, people would be like, "Oh, where's Coco?" And I'm like, "She's at daycare." Like, "Well, what are you doing?" And because I'm not actively working, and at first that really made me feel bad. I'm like, why is she at daycare if I'm here watching TV or if I'm here relaxing? And my brain needs to be used in creativity. Like, if your brain is fried, I'm not going to be able to do my job. I'm not going to be able to think about jokes. I'm not going to be able to focus on my interviews. Like, I have to have my mind together. And I'm with my child 24/7 from the time she was born until 13 months. She was with me all the time, meaning we were doing interviews from home, and I'm interviewing, she's on my boob, and they just have the camera from the neck up. So when I got the opportunity to get a break, it's like I had to take it because my daughter needs me at 100%. She does not want me snapping at her. She does not want me not being able to give her my all. These past 2 days, it's been very hard for me to give her energy because I was so drained from traveling back and forth, and then, you know, doing my job takes up a lot of energy. So I really didn't have any for her, and I was sleeping on the couch, and she's just like, you know, attacking me for attention, and I'm like, this is why she goes to daycare, so that I can have all of the energy that I need. And some people that have kids, they're like, yeah, I'm trying to do self-care like you. I'm trying to be like you. And I'm just kind of maneuvering through life and just trying to do what feels right to me. But I will say, Mom, is that at the end of the day, your child needs you to be 100%. So even though it might get you might feel a little bit guilty, they're going to love it in the long run. And I also try to tell myself that right now she's a baby. So if I can do like all of these extra things now, and then later on I'm being able to make it to her dance performances and things like that, then, you know, I'll be fine. And then I make sure on the weekends, well, we're doing the panel, so she's not here right now, but typically she's with me all weekend because she's at daycare during the week.
Sharice, Dr. Myvette, did you want to comment?
Sure, I can add to that. I think it was a conversation that I had to have with myself early on because from the time he was born, I was in a master's program, graduated that, then went to a doctoral program, and then always had this demanding job. So at some point, I had to ask myself, I can't show up 100% everywhere, but the one place that I have to is being a mom. So for me, the guilt was 80-20. So 80% not, 20% yes, because I know that everything that I'm doing is prioritizing him. So working hard, finishing those programs was all for him and for the benefit of him. So he can have a life that, either that I wanted or even better. So if it's he has to stay at daycare longer, that's what we're going to have to do for the time period. And now that he's older, having those conversations with him, so he knows that he's even telling me like, it's okay, I know you have to do this and X, Y, and Z. Or if there's a program that I know because of work, unfortunately I can't show up to everything, we're going to have that conversation. So to what Jasmine was saying is taking care of yourself so you can be 100% for your child. So those opportunities where you have to, sometimes I'll stay in my car 10 minutes before I come upstairs just to kind of gather myself. So when I get there, I can show up 100% for him. So I work hard, but I also know that he's my priority. So when I'm with him, it's about him. So I don't feel guilty about prioritizing myself because I know that it ultimately benefits him.
And you said you sit in the car before you get in. If she's in a nap, I will sit in the car until she wakes up because I'm like, I'm gonna get this nap time out.
Gotta get where you can. I understand
Where
that.
you live, baby.
So I read something a couple weeks ago, and I'm glad I found it. It says we expect women to work like they don't have children and raise children as if they don't work. And that I'm so glad I found it because like that is the truth. And my mother was the first one to try to make me feel guilty about putting my baby in daycare. He's not in daycare now. We end up pulling him out. But when I initially did, and she's like, well, you work from home and you do this. And I'm like, okay, I work from home. Like I'm not home choosing, I also run a business. I'm doing other stuff. And and you have a husband. And okay, so that what does that mean? Does that mean that because I work at home and I have a husband that, I should be with my kid or one of us should be with him 24/7. So if we're running on E because we're with him 24/7 and we're working and we have other things going on, like how is that beneficial to him? So initially I had a little guilt. When I stopped breastfeeding, why aren't you doing it longer? But it's your motherhood journey. You got to make it what you make it. And being a brand new mom, I literally had to realize that because people will try to make you feel guilty for how you do things with your child. But that's your child.
Mm-hmm. And the way you do it is right. There's some TikToks that I've seen and it goes motherhood hacks and then it'll be like 0 because whatever you do works for you. And, I didn't know that I was doing any mom shaming before I had a kid, but like I went on an apology tour to the few of my friends that did have kids of me making them feel bad for being late or even though I'm still not late with my kid, but whatever. Just different things that I just was not sensitive to. And then also I've lost a lot of friends from having a kid, just leaning on friends that were not ready to be leaned on, but insinuated that they were ready to be leaned on. And then it's like, okay, I really need the help. And they buckle down under pressure. And I've also had to give a lot of my friends grace because they don't know how to transition from, I was a partier, Jasmine was out in the streets all the time. And it's like, now it's like, you're still just inviting me to parties and you're not saying, oh, well, can I come over and, sit in here while you take a nap? Or can I come help you do some laundry. Or if I invite them to apple picking, they're like, no, I don't want to go to apple picking. But then you're mad because I can't go sit in your section. And it's like, you know, it's just so many transitions that you have to go through being a new mom, that how dare someone try to make you feel guilty for putting yourself first.
LaShonda, it looked like that touched you.
Jasmine just hit the nail on the head, man. Like literally last night, I have a homegirl that came in town. They wanted to go to a late dinner. I was cool with dinner, and then they wanted to go out after. Okay, well, who gonna put this baby to bed? Like, I got a plan for the week, you know, like,
right.
Y'all can come over here and hang out, you know, stop by, but no, I'm not trying to be out until 2 or 3 because he's gonna be up at 6:30. So then, what? So, oh man, you hit so many nails on the head because I am literally dealing with that. My son just turned 9 months. Just turned 9 months ago. So
you're almost there. 1 year once you get to 1 year, it gets so much breezier. It really does.
Yeah, people are used to me being out. Like if you call me, I'm there, and that's what one of my girlfriends literally said. Oh, you never flake. Yeah, because I mean, I was never a mom either. This shit's new to me. I'm trying to figure it out.
Oh, ladies, thank you all so much for being here today. I think we had a great discussion. I do want to ask, because I know there are a lot of questions that some of y'all didn't get to jump in on. If I'm going to go through everyone, if you just have final thoughts. And I just wanted to say Misty Powell, who was with us earlier, she did have to jump off, unfortunately, but we so appreciated her wisdom and her words. Dr. Mavette, let's start with you if you have any closing comments.
One thing, just be authentically you. No matter what anyone else says or who comes at you, be you. That's it. Love and peace to all.
Thank you. Ataji?
I would say don't be afraid to make mistakes, especially on this journey, whether it's your womanhood, your femininity, your business. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to change things a million times. So don't be afraid to. Don't feel bad for it because we're all learning. At the end of the day, we all are ages for the first time. So I kind of just want everybody to be cognizant of that, that you're never doing anything wrong. It's just a learning experience.
LaShonda?
Quit being measured by impossible standards. Just do you. Do what makes you happy. Don't give into this social media life because you see a lot of these people on social media flexing money and on boats and on trips every weekend, and they in credit card debt and living with their mama. You just never know the backstory. So just quit being measured by these impossible standards.
Camille?
Aside from thank you for having me and being invited to this panel with all these esteemed women, I would say I wish everyone to move out of a scarcity mindset, whatever that may be, when it comes to opportunities, money, men. I wish everyone to remove any type of scarcity mindset that they may have moving forward.
Jasmine?
My advice, my thing that I leave everyone with is to live life as if nobody is watching. You're the only person that matters at the end of the day.
Okay. Well, ladies, again, I want to thank you all for being here for the State of Womanhood panel. I think we had a wonderful discussion. And yeah, I just want everyone to take from this what they got. We had a diverse group of women in the hopes that everyone connected to something that someone said, or hopefully it sparked something in you for you to think about further, or maybe gave you the grace to give yourself at this point. So we thank you all for tuning in. Again, thank you, ladies, so much for joining us for our Finer Womanhood Week commencement. It was great. You guys have a wonderful remainder of the afternoon.
We need a part 2. Good job, Sandra. This together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.